Welcome in on this Wednesday. It is 5 Clubs here on Golf Channel live from our studios in Charlotte, North Carolina, as well as on Channel 92, that's Sirius XM's PGA Tour Radio. I am Gary Williams, and this program is always brought to you by Century Insurance. If you have business insurance needs, they will meet them. And they also invest in golf in great ways with the United States Golf Association and the First Tee. We are very proud to be aligned with them, as well as our 3 North Carolina-based companies. Golf Pride, they've got a design studio right at their headquarters, right at the entrance to Pinehurst number 8. And they've got the best products. That's why they're trusted by more players at every level. Peter Millar, as we roll into the fall season, go to their website, petermillar.com, and like they've done for almost 25 years, they have more for you when it comes to everything that you need to wear wherever it is that you're going in your life. And the aforementioned Pinehurst, the cradle of American golf, when it comes to booking a trip and knowing that you have options to play and options to stay and where to eat. Every time I go to Pinehurst, they have something more to offer somebody who loves the game of golf. That's why they're the cradle of American golf. Today, we're going to talk a lot of amateur golf, and let's kick it off because last night, we were very lucky to spend the early evening with a young man who was one of the best juniors, now getting ready to be a collegiate golfer. That was at Carmel Country Club right here in Charlotte. That is Will Hartman. That trophy is the 4-ball trophy the United States Golf Association bestows upon the 2 winners. They have a men's and they have a women's 4-ball championship. It's now 10 years old. Will and his partner, who is going to follow him to Vanderbilt University next year. Will is headed there in a couple of weeks. Lucky enough to spend the evening with him and all the people in his life who have supported him, not only at Carmel Country Club, but also his instructors as well, his family certainly. And Will is headed to the U.S. Amateur next week at Olympic and then to Nashville, Tennessee, as I did some years ago, like 40. I can't believe I just said that out loud. Amateur golf this 2 weeks for the United States Golf Association because the U.S. Women's Amateur will get to 64 this morning because they've got a playoff to determine who those 64 are going to be in match play off of the stroke play qualifying portion of it. Mike Keiser, of course, is the CEO of the United States Golf Association. Last night, he tweeted, not once, but twice. We're only going to show you one of Mike's tweets. And he said, Bandon Dunes golf is simply amazing. You haven't been, you should. Incredible USGA host for the U.S. Women's Amateur. It'll be on tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You're going to get a lot of prime time, including the final on Sunday night as well. And Bandon Dunes has become a site for the United States Golf Association, not only the 4-ball, they had the men's amateur there a couple of years ago, and this year they've got the women's amateur. And it gets me to something that I'm going to begin the program with. But by the way, we're going to be joined by 2 people who are a big part of amateur golf. One, formerly as one of the best amateurs at the time, that is Steve Scott, who now does a lot of broadcasting. He was at the Western Amateur last week. He also does professional golf for PGA Tour Live. Of course, he is the guy who had the last shot of Tiger in 1996 at Pumpkin Ridge in that great, epic U.S. Amateur final. And a couple days later, it was hello world for Tiger as he embarked on his amazing professional career. The other person who's going to join me is the #1 ranked amateur in the world on the men's side, Jackson Koivun, who's getting ready to begin a junior year at Auburn. And he's also got a PGA Tour card stuffed in his back pocket already because that's how good he's been, not only in amateur events, but also when he's dipped his toes in the water of professional golf, including last week up the road in Greensboro. Oh, he just finished tied for 5th in a PGA Tour event. He'll be with me as well. But let me get back to Bandon because it also gets back to amateur golf, which is why when we look at the people who matter most in the game of golf, you have to think beyond the people who we watch play the game as well. Bandon Dunes was created after Sandhills, and Sandhills is a private experience in the Sandhills of Nebraska. But it was the impetus for what came next, and it was Mike Keiser building something on the Oregon coastline. And you're going, my gosh, it's hard to get to. I'm not saying it's still not kind of hard to get to. I was there last summer. These are photos across the properties, whether it be Bandon Trails, whether it be Pacific Dunes, or whether it be other areas of what has become one of the great destinations in the world to go and play the game of golf. It is not only because the golf itself on that Oregon coastline is sublime, it's because the people who are managing it and in charge of providing the experiences when you get there have it down like clockwork. They have created something that has been a model and an inspiration for others, not only in this country, but also around the world. And that is the clock that sits right there at the first tee at Bandon Dunes, and then also right there by the 18th green, where we hope that U.S. Women's Amateur gets to on that 36-hole final on Sunday. That place is a place that changed golf. It changed the industry of golf. Like I said, it was an inspiration for others to say, you know what, if we build these outposts, if they're good enough and they are managed expertly, whether it be places, I don't know, near a sulfate mine down there in Polk County, Florida, as we've got with Streamsong, or in Wisconsin, which is Sand Valley, which is also Dream Golf, which was the vision of the man I'm getting ready to speak about now, and that is Mike Keiser. Mike Keiser was recognized this year by the United States Golf Association and was bestowed their highest honor, the Bob Jones Award. Tiger Woods won it last year. If you look through the Rolodex of winners of the Bob Jones Award, it is a roll call of the most significant figures historically, presently, all time in golf. Mike deserved that award. He deserves something else, because it's not just him changing high-end retail golf at a level that we never thought was possible, at places that you never imagined you would build 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 different golf courses as they're doing, whether it was Bandon, then Sand Valley, and Rodeo Dunes is next, outside of Denver. And then they've got another place in East Texas, and then the Panhandle of Florida will come after that. Mike Keiser is somebody who is approaching 80 years of age, and it's past time that he should be in the World Golf Hall of Fame, because golf in the World Golf Hall of Fame is different from the other halls of fame. They're all, for all intents and purposes, not only there to recognize people who have played the game at the highest level, but golf is different from the other ones. People don't participate in football past a certain age, recreationally. They may do it in basketball, and they may do it in slow pitch softball, which is a different iteration of baseball. These places that honor and recognize people who have been the best at playing these various sports, but it's also their museums. They understand and they have a responsibility to explain the history of golf. In the history of golf, from a participatory level, can't be explained over the last 3 decades and in the many decades that we have to follow without recognizing the contribution of Mike Keiser. And Mike is not only somebody who has built great retail golf, but he's also somebody who's contributed mightily to advancing people through different arteries in golf, through the Evans Scholars, through the Keiser Family Foundation. Hundreds of millions of dollars contributed to advancing young lives to get them on a trajectory that otherwise would not be achieved. So I think the World Golf Hall of Fame, when they kind of retooled things after 2013 and then they decided that they were only going to have classes every other year, that's not unreasonable, that's fine. And that began in 2015 when they did the Hall of Fame ceremony at St. Andrews. But when you look at people who should be in the Hall of Fame, very, very few that I can think of that would come before Mike Keiser. And here's the thing, I don't really know him. I've met him a couple of times in passing. It doesn't matter whether I have a relationship with somebody or not. That is immaterial to me saying that this person or that person should be recognized. Golf is different. It's different on so many levels. This is an industry that tops out over $100 billion. And many of those billions of dollars have nothing to do with the product that we watch on the weekends. People who play the game that is really, in terms of the way they do it, it's unrecognizable to the millions and millions of people who play the game. Mike Keiser's impact on golf, I could argue, not only right now, but in the decades and decades as we go forward, will be immeasurable as you relate it to players who play the game. And that is not to diminish what they do. They should be recognized because they are kind of the hood ornaments of what the Hall of Fame is. And by the way, the Hall of Fame is back where it should have always been and never have left, in Pinehurst. Because Pinehurst had somebody in its infancy that drove its advancement, a guy named Richard Tufts. You know where Richard Tufts is recognized? In the World Golf Hall of Fame. Similarly to why Mike Keiser should be recognized as well. And one last little caveat to Richard Tufts and what he did to change golf and the idea of going places and playing the game and driving the industry forward. When Bobby Jones decided to create Augusta National, it was not with the express purpose of creating some mythical private enclave that seemed like, my gosh, no one will ever play it. It was actually an answer, or at least that was the ambition, to be like Pinehurst with the women's course and tennis courts and real estate. And you're going, no, that's not Augusta National. Oh, yes, it was. They changed course, but they were inspired by what came before them. Pinehurst and Richard Tufts, and he's in the World Golf Hall of Fame, as Mike Keiser should be. He should be in that next class. And while we're thinking about it, before I go to break, add Butch Harmon, add Seth Rayner, add Harry Colt. These are people who in different ways have influenced far more people than the ones that we watch hit shots that we go, how does he do that? I don't really know how he does that, but I know that people who change the industry also should have a rightful place in that body because it's a museum as well as recognizing the best who ever did it on the playing field of the game of golf. All right, when we continue, a lot of amateur golf today. Steve Scott, he was one of the best. Like I said, he got the final shot in the ring with Tiger as an amateur in '96, one of the epic amateur finals we've ever seen. That too was in the state of Oregon, where Bandon Dunes is across the state, about 5 hours away. His thoughts on where amateur golf is right now, and the #1 amateur in the world right now, Jackson Koivun, will join me as well. We got dogs, we got picks, we got a full hour. We got a lot to get to. Don't know if we'll have enough time for Bed Bath & Beyond. We're with you on Golf Channel and also on Channel 92, Sirius XM's PGA Tour Radio. Steve Scott is next. Welcome back in on this Wednesday here on 5 Clubs Golf Channel and also simulcast on Sirius XM's Channel 92 PGA Tour Radio. This segment is brought to you by Pinehurst, the cradle of American golf. The new cottages at number 8, the new clubhouse at number 10. They got a new restaurant coming to the main resort this fall. They've got it all, but they never think they have it all. That's why they keep making the experience better and better. All right, joining me now, he's an author. He is a keynote speaker. He's a broadcaster. He was a premier amateur. He's also somebody who created a golfing society that might be the most redeemable thing that he's doing right now because it brings together people who love golf. And I'm speaking of Steve Scott, that finalist in 1996 at Pumpkin Ridge against Tiger. My friend, good morning. How you doing?
Really great to chat with you, Gary. Always just a treat to be on this morning with you.
Well, thank you for doing this. You did the Western Am last week. For somebody who is doing the World Feed this week for the first playoff event for PGA Tour Live, you know, you have got a wide lens, but you and I are going to focus on amateur golf because I know it means so much to you. It always has, and it's changing a lot. And let's start with PGA Tour U. Jackson Koivun is going to be on the show here in about 20 minutes. He's the #1 ranked amateur in the world. He's got a tour card in his back pocket. That's a great way to walk around campus at Auburn. Mm-hmm. How much has the advent of that program altered the college golf landscape?
Well, I think, look, I think the fact that it gives these players the biggest carrot of the PGA Tour card. You essentially get a year and a half of exempt status on the PGA Tour, and there's no other pathway other than winning a PGA Tour event that you get more than one season on the PGA Tour. So that's a huge thing. And think about it. When you get that full year, kind of your second half of it, you get ranked ahead of the Korn Ferry Tour players. You get ranked ahead of all the Q School players. and you're not involved with the reshuffle. And so that's a huge part of that's the huge carrot right there. In the 5 iterations of PGA Tour U, we've had 7 winners on the PGA Tour from the top 10 of each year, and Ludwig Oberg being the only number 1 to actually win on tour, or actually the only one from PGA Tour U that was number 1. Everybody else was outside of number 1. But would it be possible that all the players would have jumped that quickly without PGA Tour U? I don't know. And that's players like myself. I was the number 1 ranked amateur before the World Amateur Golf Rankings in 1999 when I turned pro. I got a few exemptions for sure. I had my opportunities, but I never had the opportunity of a full season, and that's what made me more comfortable as I played professionally on what's now PGA Tour Canada. I became very comfortable over the course of a season, but you throw me in a Q school or a 1-week sort of thing, and that's a pressure cooker.
Steve, the impact of NIL on the revenue-producing sports it's varied. But football players have an obligation in terms of how much time after their last high school year before they have eligibility to be a professional. Basketball is different. Golf, my view of it is that it's been fortified to a degree because not only do you have the opportunities like some of these guys have taken advantage of to get these points, be close to a tour card, be fully exempt, but also the money they can make through NIL that I don't need to start the meter right away. Do you think college golf has benefited from all of this?
Well, for sure. I think, it's affected the Walker Cup team as well, as we can get into. But, I think if anything, I actually think of this NIL, and we had NIL back in my day, too, in the mid to late 90s. But it was pronounced nil, like the soccer term is 0. That's what we got. But I think the combination of PGA Tour U and the NIL has led these players to hang around a little bit more. Jackson Koivun, you're going to talk about him in a little bit. I mean, Ben James is another one.
Yep.
University of Virginia senior. He is jumping into his senior year. He'll be number 1 in the PGA Tour University rankings when it comes out. He played in the Walker Cup team in 2023. And now he will be on that team again. So 2 Walker Cup teams for a collegiate, it's very rare. And not many players have done that. And so I think it's kept a guy like Ben James in the mix a little bit longer. And I think the U.S. Walker Cup team is going to benefit from that.
No, it's a very good point to see guys repeat that opportunity to be on multiple Walker Cup teams, which is a neat thing to see as he's going to experience. You were just, as I mentioned, at the Western Amateur, great event, a true gauntlet, 72 holes of stroke play to get to a round of 16. I mean, just exhausting experience, but so rewarding. How would you rank the amateur events? Because there's so many that have great history. The Northeast Am, the Son of Hannah. I could go on and on, as you know. The North-South down the road in Pinehurst. How do you rank the amateur events?
Earlier in the week on Monday, I heard your talk with Claire Rogers and Gabby Herzig, and you were talking about how the PGA Tour playoffs have changed and the Tour Championship format has changed. I think the Western Amateur format is absolutely perfect for kind of moving that way. 72 holes of stroke play followed by 4 match play matches. There's lots of ways they could do it. But how I would rank the amateur events right now, I mean, look, the U.S. Amateur is always at the top of the food chain, no question. The Western Amateur, I think, is just right below that. And then you have the ones in the Elite Amateur Series, really, that we never had. That's been kind of, in the last few years, has jumped on events like the Sonny Hannah Amateur, events like the North-South Amateur, the Northeast Amateur are all in this. And it's all about getting into PGA Tour events. The collegiate events right now, it's very interesting how the amateur events and the collegiate events have kind of melded together because the college events are more heavily weighted right now. I don't see a lot of these players playing as much in the summer as we did back in the 90s or early 2000s, because now the college events, with PGA Tour U kind of finishing up in the end of May at the end of stroke play of the NCAA championship, I think that that has kind of become the pseudo end of the season as opposed to later in the year. And so, yeah, it's very interesting how that all goes. But kind of USAM, Western Am, and then the Elite Amateur Series would kind of rank it out.
We were talking yesterday, Johnson Wagner, Brendan Young, and myself, about stories that maybe should have gotten more attention. And Brendan pointed out that the amateurs, the performances in these tour events, as you know, look, you were mentioning getting a spot start here or there. Making a cut was like, oh my gosh, that kid who at the University of Florida, he made the cut. Yeah. Holy cow, he's going to play the weekend. What Luke Clanton, what Jackson Koivun, what these guys are doing. Look, Patrick Cantlay had a great run that summer when he shot 60 at the Travelers. He had, I think, 4 top 25s in tour events. Why? What's your theory as to why this generation of player seems so well equipped to show up at just these incredible like sensory overload experiences, tour events, and not just take it all in, but like hang around and like be on the periphery of contention? Why is this happening?
Yeah, they're taking it all in stride, aren't they? I mean, what Luke Clanton did last year, what Jackson Koivun is doing right now, is pretty remarkable stuff. I think really you find it in a few ways. I mean, look, they all have elite distance. That's a huge component. Yep. We're seeing experienced caddies actually jump over to these players' bag. I mean, Joe Scavron with Ludwig Oberg, he went off of Ricky Fowler's bag and moved with Ludwig. You look at Michael Thorbjornsen has got the experience of Lance Bennett on the bag, and Michael is poised to win. He's been knocking on the door. Elite training really is a huge component of it. I remember back at the University of Florida days, I mean, you know, we would work with the trainers, and we would do lunges across the end zone at the Swamp. That was our workout. and run up the stadium. And you know, that was kind of it. And so, you know, right now it's like every body part is tuned in. And then really all the golf is so mainstream now in collegiate golf, all the televised golf and the circus that kind of surrounds televised golf and all the cameramen running all over the place. And these players, they are ready for it. They're not scared by the moment.
No, they absolutely not. They're getting indoctrinated into what the experience is like in a modest way, but more college events on television, rope lines, cameras, media responsibilities. They're not just showing up at these things going, I've never done this before, that they have to some degree. All right, let me ask you, you're going to invest 3 future bets, only 3. Give me your top 3 future bets of young male players that you've seen that you think have a chance to pay a dividend in 5 years. I'm giving you a 5-year window. Who are your 3?
Okay. All right. Can I pick Scotty Scheffler or Cameron Young? I mean,
no. They have no amateur eligibility left.
Okay. All right. They'd be pretty good investments, though. Look, I think, I just saw Jace Summey, the Oklahoma senior, win at the Western Am this week. He's got that kind of Hal Sutton type toughness. Hits it plenty long way. He won 6 and 5 in that final. That was very impressive. Tyler Watts is another player who won the Sonny Hanna Amateur, the youngest player ever to win the Sonny Ham. Shot 19 under, I believe, there in Johnstown. One player who I also saw this week, he's a rising sophomore at the University of Florida, is Zach Swanwick. He's from New Zealand. Not many people know about him. J.C. Deacon there has a really high bar set for him. He went 3-0 in the match play of the SEC title to lead the Florida Gators to that SEC title back in April. He made it to the semis there at the Western and plays really good. So a few players that might not be on everybody's radar, but they're really good.
Excellent. All right, before I let you go, look, everybody, when your name gets invoked, they think about one of the most significant, I really believe it always will be, memorable amateur finals in 1996. You got the last shot. And boy, did you take a hell of a shot. When you look back on it, you've written about this experience, getting a shot at Tiger. When you looked at him in 1996, he already had a persona. The guy had won 5 USGA championships already. He was trying to complete this triple trifecta of the 3 juniors and the 3 AMs, and then off he was going to go. When you looked at his toolkit, the thing that you would have loved to have been in possession of, more than anything else that he possessed, what was it?
Well, look, I would have loved his length off the tee. He outdrove me by more than 50 yards. I would like maybe 1% more of will. We both had our wills were tested that day. But I think the one thing that really sticks out to me would be his ability to compartmentalize. He really flipped a switch. The morning 18, I mean, I was 5 up after 18 holes.
Yep.
And he had a $40 million check from Phil Knight waiting for him when that match was over. But, you know, who knows if he didn't win the match, would everything have transpired the way it did? So with all that pressure and all that leading up to it, his ability to just kind of put all that aside and go out and shoot one of the best rounds that he's ever shot in his life. He shot about 65 in the second 18 to force it to a playoff and go 38 holes. But I think that compartmentalization ability was his strength.
Love it. Thanks for taking the time this morning. Again, World Feed for you from PGA Tour Live this week. All the things that you're contributing to the game of golf, your golfing foundation as well. You and I golf this fall for sure, and we will do this again. Count on that. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Gary. Always a pleasure.
All right, that is Steve Scott, that 96 final, watching that live. It was mesmerizing how good it was. All right, we take a break. When we come back, we got picks, we got dogs, we got the #1 amateur in the world to join us as well. We continue here on Golf Channel and SiriusXM's PGA Tour Radio, Channel 92, with you right after this. Just the Open makes me smile back here on this Wednesday, here on 5 Clubs Golf Channel, also Channel 92, SiriusXM's PGA Tour Radio. And this segment brought to you by Golf Pride. I'm going to get to play one of the coolest places in the world Saturday, and there was a box on my front door yesterday. Very few things that are any good come in the mail anymore. Something good came yesterday, a new 3-wood with the Align Max grip from Golf Pride. My favorite new grip. They always have the best materials, the best products, the best options. That's why Golf Pride is the #1 golf grip brand in the world, not even close, at every single level. You saw the Open every Wednesday. We associate this great game with the greatest creatures, dogs. So if you've got a dog that has a relationship with the game, and even loosely, send a photo or a video into us. It is dogs@5clubsgolf.com. We got enough dogs to get us through the holidays. And like I said, we'll do whole shows on dogs if we have to, because that's our favorite subject here. All right, let's get to our dogs of the week. We got a full batch. We always do. That right there is Billy from Eagle Vale Golf Club in Vail, Colorado. Craig Lewis is his owner. Billy's a rescue, a mix of a Chihuahua, miniature pinscher, and a Dachshund. That is Blue. Jeff Rabideau is the owner, but he is with Jessica Welch, who in June repeated as the winner of the Michigan PGA Women's Championship at Crystal Mountain Resort in Thompsonville, Michigan. Great picture there. Sean Keating is the owner of Remington. Sean is the superintendent at Oak Hill Country Club in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. And Remington loves that frisbee on the golf course. That is Buddy. That is Cordoval out in California. Joe Mauser is the owner. Loves laying in the rough. Why not? Doesn't have to hit any golf balls from the rough. Go ahead and lay right there, Buddy. That is Larkin on the left, Wiki on the right. Larkin is a 13-year-old Border Collie. Wiki is a 9-year-old Australian Shepherd dog. And that is Chip Lafferty's dogs. We got a bonus dog, because Keely, that black lab, is retrieving golf balls from his owner, Matt Luck.
Good job,
Don't care that it's not on a golf course. That barn is a great backdrop right there, retrieving balls for his owner as he works on his short game. Go get it, Keely. Those are your dogs of the week. And we transition to another segment that was not supposed to have anything to do with dogs, but the truth is many of our picks this year have been just that. Not just dogs, dogs with fleas, like an infestation of fleas, particularly the guy who's in last, who had the best week of anybody last week, and that is Brendan DeYoung, who got a tie for 8th from Matt Fitzpatrick, and he was crowing about it on social media. That's the level of desperation for Brendan. He needs a monstrous 3 weeks. Taylor Zarzer sits at top, Johnson to follow, Emma Gill, myself, Jay Billis, and Brendan DeYoung. And what you're going to see as we embark on this 3 weeks of playoff golf on the PGA Tour is, if we got Scheffler, to play. We're going to play him. The budget was you could play Scotty Scheffler or any player. 5 was the max. Gil played Scotty Scheffler 5 times before Memorial Day, so he's out of Scheffler. So is Taylor Zarzour. Now, Johnson Wagner can use him 2 more times. He's not playing him this week. He goes with Sepp Straka. But as you can see, myself, Emma, Jay, and Brendan going the Scheffler route. And we will see how much turbulence and change we can see over the next 3 weeks, starting with the FedEx St. Jude Championship there. Obviously, no Rory in the field. And these next 3 weeks, again, as I said it yesterday, and this is not to disparage having full fields, great players. We want to see them as much as we can before the end of the regular season. But the most significant storyline around these 3 events is first, who wins? Because these are big wins. You win against these fields, it's significant. If you win a FedEx Cup title now as we get close to 20 years of this, I do think it's a bold type accomplishment on a big time, like, overall resume, but it's the Ryder Cup ramifications that are associated with who finishes in the top 5, who wins, Cam Young, and we can go on and on. Chris Gotterup, Keegan himself, he's now at 10th. We shall see. Enough of professional golf. Let's get back to the topic du jour, and that is amateur golf. The #1 amateur in the world is a young man who, when he makes the choice to play professional golf, he'll be fully exempt. That's how good he's been at certain amateur events and also when he has chosen to play professional events. Jackson Koivun is getting ready to start his junior year at Auburn. Before that, U.S. Amateur, Walker Cup as well. He joins me next to talk about his summer, what he's done, what he wants to accomplish, and a whole lot more as we continue with you on this Wednesday edition. 5 Clubs on Golf Channel and PGA Tour Radio on Sirius XM. Back with him right after this. Welcome back in. Good to have you with us here on this Wednesday on 5 Clubs Golf Channel and also PGA Tour Radio, Sirius XM's Channel 92. This segment brought to you by Peter Millar. Fall is here. Everything you would need to transition from summer to fall is at petermillar.com. For more than 25 years, they've been refining performance, luxury, and style. He's stylish. He's the #1 amateur in the world. He has dipped his toe in the water of professional events. He's played exceptionally well. And I will say this, when you ask a college kid to come on a show, a TV show at 7:30 local time, you're going, I don't know. Elite golfers don't sleep late. Maybe Walter Hagen did because he was up until 6 o'clock in the morning, then he would sleep till noon and then go shoot 65. This guy does that a lot. He is Jackson Koivun from Auburn University. Good morning. Thank you for doing this. How you feeling?
Feeling great. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for making the time. You're headed west. You got the U.S. Amateur coming up next week at the Olympic Club. You've got the Walker Cup just a couple weeks after that in Northern California at Cypress Point. We'll get to those things, but let me ask you about taking the time to play tour events. What has been the most valuable thing of making the choice to play those events? And obviously the performances have been amazing, tied for 5th last week at the Wyndham. What have you gotten out of doing that?
Yeah, there's so much to learn. I think my most beneficial thing was figuring out how to play a practice round. Just learning the golf course, all the little stuff that adds up and can really take 1 or 2 shots off your round. I think that's been most beneficial, and learning how to manage your time. I think that's been very important for me.
You know, Jackson, I was talking to Steve Scott earlier, and, you know, he was one of the best amateurs. College golf has changed a lot. You guys have events on TV, but it's not like you have 10, 20, 30,000 people watching. They're intimate settings. Tour events is different. There's a lot going on. How about focus? How much have you learned about how focused you are and how much more you need to lean into narrowing that focus when you get to events like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people out there, and that's always a good thing. I mean, that's what we play for. But I think I found out about myself that I can focus pretty well on the golf course. There's obviously times I've let that slip and maybe not hit the shot I liked, but those crowds are great. They're super fun to be around, and I mean that's what we work for.
So when you make the putt on 18 at Sedgefield and you finish in the top 5, look, there's a rush of adrenaline that you don't know until you feel it. How satisfying is ending an event as you get ready to focus back in on college golf, amateur golf, these 2 monster events you've got coming up? How about punctuating a performance in a tour event by making that downhill right to left putt? What does that feel like physically?
It was awesome. It was pretty sweet. Just to hear the roar of the fans and see that ball go in, realize that it got me inside the top 5. Everything about it was great. Just couldn't ask for a better way to end an event.
I want to take you back. I was watching an interview you did, and one of the things you mentioned was a particular moment you had in the Western Junior, and it was a learning lesson. It was about, process and patience. Explain to people, when you have an experience like that, like don't let it pass, like learn from it. What was it about that particular thing? Is it taught you about your own patience process that has made you a better player?
That tournament was like 6 years ago, and I still look back on it. It's so easy in this game to get going fast and look too far into the future. And it's just something I always kind of look back on is I know I can still go out and put up a good score even when I'm playing bad if I have the right process and right mindset. And it's something I didn't do at that golf tournament, but I'm happy happened because it's something I was able to grow on. And for the past 6 years now, I still look back at that.
I remember Jordan Spieth, his first Ryder Cup experience, Jackson, was 2014. And he talked about doing just that, like getting ahead of himself, because when he was a junior, when he was in college for that 1 year, like he could flip opponents and he could kind of flip the script of the event because he was better than everybody else. And he learned a valuable lesson against Graham McDowell in that singles match. He had an early lead, lost it, wound up losing the match. When you're better than your opponents, whether it be in match play or stroke play, how much is that a lesson in terms of patience? Like, are you generally a patient person? Are you patient, like online waiting for food? Are you patient online at a red light? Are you generally a patient person?
I like to think so. Patience is definitely a virtue and something everyone has to deal with, but I think that's something I've developed a little bit over the years, and it's definitely kind of filtered into my golf game in a good way.
Earlier this summer, we were there, we did the show. I didn't have a chance to meet you or chat with you at all at the Arnold Palmer Cup. These particular experiences, they all have their own texture. What was redeemable and great about being around other guys but also sharing the stage with the best collegiate women as well, being on that property at Congaree, taking it all in together? What was great about that week?
The Arnold Palmer Cup week is definitely one of my favorite weeks of the year. I've been fortunate enough to play in 2 of them now, and they've both been incredible. The memories you make, the friends you make, you get closer with people you didn't really know, and everyone's just world-class golfers, and it's a lot of fun going up and competing against the best of the best in the country, whether that's in singles or foursomes or 4-balls, mixed, anything like that. It's so fun, and I can't thank them enough for putting it on.
It really is one of the best events in golf. Forget amateur golf. I think it's incredibly special to keep, particularly in many ways, the legacy of Arnold Palmer very much alive. Let me ask you about the decision to put that tour card, which you now have in your back pocket. Was that an easy or hard decision to say, you know what, I've got it. I've got the points. I can go play pro golf. Was it easy or hard?
For me, it was kind of a no-brainer after sophomore year to just come back and at least get 1, maybe 2 more years in. College golf is so good right now, and there's so much to learn in this game, and I didn't feel like I was mentally quite ready to turn pro after nationals, and I'm very glad I made that decision.
Walker Cup. I was at Cypress Point a couple weeks ago. The USGA did a wonderful thing previewing Olympic, where you'll be next week for the amateur, and then at Cypress Point for the Walker Cup. Do you know much at all? You're not expected to, of the history of that amazing place.
I know a little bit about it. I've played at Cypress 3 times. It's incredible golf course. Some of the best views I've ever seen in the world, let alone on a golf course. But man, it's a real special place, and I'm really looking forward to the Walker Cup.
You know, it's interesting, you having years in San Jose, California before your family moved to Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Ken Venturi went to San Jose State. He played in the match there in 1956, him and Harvey Ward, who went to the University of North Carolina against Hogan and Byron Nelson. Explain to people, it's not just the holes across the road, like all the holes up in the forest. That area of the golf course, Jackson, gets to me as much as getting out to 15, 16, and 17. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, that whole property is just special. It's just got some type of feel to it.
Yeah.
Every hole, I really like the trees, everything like that. You get into holes 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're all great, and obviously the crown jewels of 15, 16, 17 are unbelievable, and that whole place, it just has a special feel to it, and it can come up and bite you too. It's not the easiest place in the world, so it'll be really cool. It'll
be awesome. You guys are they're presenting the golf course. They didn't add 500 yards for you guys who hit it forever. You're going to play it at 6,600 par 71. Just go out there, play match play, and whatever happens, happens. All right, let's get Jackson Koivun, the #1 amateur in the world, out of here with 5 quick questions to go. All right, Auburn, every college town has great food joints. What is your go-to food joint in Auburn?
Moe's Barbecue.
Okay, are you a pulled pork guy? Are you a brisket guy? What is your go-to there?
This might be a little weird, but the smoked wings at Moe's Barbecue are unreal.
Not weird at all. Not weird at all. All right, who is the longest player that you've played with yet in amateur golf? Or even, I'll add professional golf because now you've played in a handful of tour events. Who's the longest guy you've seen?
We go on pure ball speed or total?
Total.
Total? I've played with 2 Georgia Tech kids that hit it so far. One of them's on Corn Ferry now, named Christo Lamprecht.
Yes.
And then a kid named Cale Fontenot, and they're both like 200 ball speed. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, and Christo is a big dude to boot. Like, he's got not only all the total speed and everything, but he's physically imposing as well. All right, you're a stylish guy. Who is the most stylish golfer in your mind, any level? Who is it?
I'd say Billy Horschel's up there.
I knew you were going to say that. You remind me of him, like physically. I knew Horschel was going to be your answer, and he's always a good answer. All right, this is not to disparage any of the tour stops because you've had a handful of great experiences. The best tour stop for all the fringe benefits. Forget the golf course. I'm talking about dry cleaning. I'm talking about food. You can't get a courtesy car. You're too young, so you can't drive those good rides. What's the best place for all the benefits?
I'd say probably Memorial, just because of the milkshakes. I probably had one too many there.
Now you didn't bring like all your dirty clothes from all your Auburn teammates to get the free dry cleaning, did you?
No, I wouldn't do that to them.
Okay, all right, last thing. Over the last year, your favorite experience total, golf course, housing, food, everything. What's the best golf experience you've had in the last year?
You're asking some tough questions. I'm going to go with the John Deere.
Good for you.
Getting back to where my dad grew up, seeing a lot of his high school buddies. They were super welcoming and inviting. Came out, supported all week. It was really cool to see them.
By the way, how is your dad getting along since you beat him for the first time when you were 7? Is he doing okay?
He needs to start playing some more golf. I need to get him some new clubs.
All right, listen, have a great couple of weeks. Have a great fall season. Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, there is Jackson Koivun, the #1 amateur in the world. A lot of amateur golf today. And let me get back to kind of the beginning. Look, we sit here and the lifeblood of what gas bags like myself who talk about golf, it's usually the best players in the world. Jackson Koivun is already one of the best players because his performance is reflective of somebody who's not just got talent, he's got refined skill. The game has never been in a better place in terms of participation level. And the places that we all have to play, like Bandon Dunes and Sand Valley and Streamsong and Piners, and I can go on and on and on. Most important thing is to enjoy all of it. This is our getaway day. Next Monday, I will be originating from a pretty neat spot, the home of golf, St. Andrews. Looking forward to that. But we hope if you've got golf in your future, like today or this weekend, enjoy it with your friends, because that's why we love it. We'll see you Monday from Scotland.